Real estate agents, we do know that to increase our lead conversion and really master the art of this, it will add so much money to our bottom line. And it will save so much more time, because if we can go on less appointments because we close more, then we have more time and money. So the art of increasing our lead conversion really comes into three different things. So we need to learn how to create that connection and build rapport. We also need to qualify the leads. And these are through our different conversations that we want to have with people when we speak to them. And the third thing is the ability to actually close. So if we go back into the first thing, which is really to build our connection through our conversations and having the rapport, there's a couple of different layers to this that can really make a difference. And this is not necessarily something that comes fluid to every single person that becomes a sales agent. So there are some tools and techniques that are out there that can help you to leverage more. And so overall, these are the things that are important. We all know that people want to work with who they know, like, and trust. And the only way for somebody to really know, like, and trust us is to talk to us on the phone. For us to really start feeling that connection, right? We have to start to really understand people. And something that's right now is like, I'm just going to give a quick example. If we're at a rapport with them, as an example, so if I call somebody and they're talking kind of slow, or they're really kind of maybe a little distant, and you pick up the phone and you're like, "Hi, my name is Kim, and I'm calling because I saw that your home came on an expired listing. So I was wondering, where do you plan to go to next?" They're going to hang up on us. So one of the things is to understand people, and there's different layers to that. One of which is to hear what's going on the other side of the phone. So people end up kind of relating to those that they talk similarly to. When we go to a place that's like not in our region, so let's just say that I go to the South, and they have a really like twangy kind of voice and tonality, and I come and I sound totally different, I'm going to have to work on that rapport and maybe change my language a little bit, at least so that my speech pattern is the same duration. Meaning, if I go and talk to somebody in New York, they talk really fast, they want to know things, they're short on time, they're very type A. And if you go to talk to somebody in the South, they're a little bit slower, they're taking their time, how y'all doing, things like that. So think about that. The minute that you speak to people, you can really create a rapport, just simply how to understand that connection right off the gate. Have you ever gotten that phone call where the person's like super annoying, you're trying to get a word in edgewise, and they don't even listen to you? So the other thing that I think is really important is if you are cold calling, or you're calling anybody, like I call my friends, you're calling a client or a listing person, presentation, if you will, and you're preparing for that, you're confirming. One of the things that I also recommend that works out really well is to say, "Hi, this is Kim. We have an appointment tomorrow. Do you have a minute for me?" And if they say no, perfect. When is a good time for me to call? There could be some pushiness to it, with the sales thing, but we have to be able to read that. So think about being on the other side of the line, or if somebody is really trying to rush you off the phone, you could be like, I don't want to interrupt, but this is a really important call. I just want to call and confirm real quick, yes or no. Are you good for tomorrow? Right? Let it go. Or etc. You want to kind of keep that in mind, that we want to pick up on the cues, and we want to start asking the questions then that allow us to start reading how do they describe things. So there's different kind of personality styles. You might have heard it, like you're a type A, you're a type B, or there's other things that you're a driver, right? So that is more in line with a person that's considered more type A. Then there's also the people that are what they call expressive, and then there's analytical. And so there's a couple of different ways here. So if you're talking about a driver, listen to how people are describing their home. So if you ask a question about them, can you please describe your home to me? You can build a rapport just by making sure that you're using the same patterns in their language that they're using. So if they say the home is 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, it's on a cul-de-sac, it's 2,100 square feet, it's got a fenced yard, what else do you want to know? That person is going to be more like a driver personality. So you'll want to rapport, you want to get to the point when you meet with them in person, you want to kind of be more factual. So analyticals can be more like this too. My difference of the driver and the analytical would have to do with the tone. So if somebody kind of goes through on the opposite side and they're analytical, they could say, my house is 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 2,100 square feet. It's got 3 bedrooms that are 12 by 12. You walk on the main level. It's got a living room on the right, a dining room on the left. You walk straight forward and you're going to see the kitchen. The family room's off to the left. We've got a basement that's got 2 rooms in it. And what else do you want to know? Like, it's more kind of a matter of fact, not a lot of inflection in their voice. And that person is going to be a little bit more analytical. So when you meet that person, notice they're not giving like descriptions. They're not rushing their pace. And in contrast, though, their description is just kind of the black and white-ish. And then when you go into an expressive, so tell me about your home, right? So the person starts to say things like, my home is very lovely. It's a great place to raise a family. It's got a wonderful yard in the back where the kids can play and the dog can run. And so when you walk in, you'll notice the lovely family room. It's very social in there. And when you go downstairs, it's a great place to watch movies with the family or just sit back and relax. We've had so many memories there. That person, you'll notice, isn't like fast-paced talking like a driver, like get to the point, I'm busy. Not analytical at all, hasn't told you how big it is or how many bedrooms it is. They describe the experience as it. So when you want to go backwards and talk about them in rapport, for example, if they say it's got a creek out in the back and it's a great place to watch the brook and things like that, and they start describing the fall leaves and the privacy, it's great for your family to feel safe. When you're talking back to them, you could be like, yeah, it sounds very tranquil. If you talk to an analytical person, they're going to say, yeah, it's on a cul-de-sac with trees in the back. Awesome. So did you pay a lot premium for it? So all of these types of things will really help us start to build rapport. And so learning these personality styles, building that rapport is very important, and kind of mirroring and matching their style, their rate of speech, their inflection. Be careful with the inspection that we're not kind of patronizing, if that's the right word, or we're not trying to talk into an Asian inflection that would make me like I'm mocking them. You want to kind of be careful about that, but the more that you can practice. So the other thing is also like when you're in front of them and they start doing things like crossing their arms or doing like this and you're talking with them, or if they're sitting back and they're being casual, right? And you sit back and be casual. This is something that you can do with your friends too, or if they lean forward, you lean forward. So the conversations aren't just always on the phone, it's also in person. So when you're out networking and you're meeting people, we want to convert them also to become part of our database, part of our sphere. So your body language is really important when you're also meeting people in person. We want to do the same thing where we're mirroring and matching their style. If somebody just like comes in and they're like, ah, and you're chill, it's going to be like, I gotta go. Right? So think about that. It's not just on the phone, it's also in person. And this will be really important to create lasting relationships because people are like going to feel like, oh, you're just like them. And that person, like I can totally get with them. Like that's my kind of person. So keep that in mind, again, via the phone and also in person, not just the networking when you're on the listing and buyer presentation. So the next thing is about like qualifying the lead before you even go on that presentation. When we talk about qualifying the lead and the conversions and how to increase them, one of the things that's important is to start asking a lot of questions. There's nothing worse than working with somebody who is not motivated, right? So we can't convert a lead that doesn't want to be converted. So if somebody's like, I'm not planning to buy and sell, and you'd be like, but it's a great time to buy and sell. And they're like, I'm not planning to buy and sell. Then we're going to come off as salesy, we're going to come off as pushy, and that's not going to work. No matter how good we build rapport, no matter how good we can mirror matching, if they are not motivated, then they are not going to convert. But now we have to really, though, use our scripts and use our dialogue to find out, like, what is their story? So having good scripts and memorizing them, and so that you can also not feel like you're reading. If you had somebody that reads it to you, will be important in this part. So having good scripts, having a buyer consultation script, having a pre-listing qualifying script, that's going to be important. So then also a listing presentation script. When you go through these things, then that's going to help dig out that motivation as well, right? So we want to say, like with the buyer consultation, describe your perfect home for me. So this is also, though, what have we asked them first? What's important about buying and selling at this time? Let them answer. Pause and let them answer. Do you have to sell at this time? Or if your home didn't sell, what would you do then? If somebody is meeting you out and about and they ask you, is now a good time to buy or sell? Reverse it around and ask some questions on motivating. Well, it depends. Are you asking from the eyes of a seller or a buyer? And know your expertise to know what that you're going to say behind. So if somebody says, for example, is now a great time to buy? If we jump right into, yeah, it's a great time to buy because XYZ, and then the person isn't even into a lease, or they're into a lease until next year, you can say, well, this year, like, what is making you think about buying right now? Well, I'm not really thinking now, it might be next year. Okay, great. Well, next year the interest rates might be different. It's a great thing to watch the market, and you can have a quality conversation with them, but plan for it for a follow-up in the future so that we're building that connection, we're checking their motivation so that we can convert them when the time is right. So this is really an important thing to think about, is that no matter if they're a buyer or seller, we want to talk to them about their motivation at the very beginning so that we can tailor our language and know our scripts on where to go to next. So if somebody says, I'm getting a divorce, I'm getting married, we're having more children, our home isn't big enough, we want to downsize, my spouse died, I need to move for a job, I need to go live the life of my dreams and I hate my house right now, I'm living in the city and I need more peace. All of these things are very good questions or answers that will come out to say, what's important about you buying and selling at this time? And then listen, right? So having a buyer consultation, the first questions we want to ask is that. Then we want to ask them like questions like, describe your ideal home for you. What does your dream home look like in this area, right? And then ask them, what is their budget? What is the most that they're willing to pay? So when we start asking these motivations and somebody asks for the world and they can't afford it, it's going to be difficult to convert them if they realize that they can't afford this. So we kind of keep going through this, ask them if there's other people that are involved in the decision making. For example, if you have a spouse, great, when can we talk together? So these are things that are really important, because if there is another person that is going to help them with the decision making and that person is completely not available, maybe we're just not going to convert them right then. I know a lot of people that are single that want their brother involved, or they want a mentor involved. And so to convert them to make a decision right now is something that you want to be prepared for, because then they don't feel rushed. They don't feel like you're not listening. They feel like you're listening. And those are really important. So have a few good scripts that you go for your buyer consultation, and make sure that these things are included in there. That you ask them, when you move, where would you go to next? And when would that be? Right? Great script to ask for an expired or for sale by owner. Another great question is the first time you've bought and sold, or have you done this many times? They said, oh, I've done this a lot. Great. Can you tell me, were those good experiences or not so great? When they say they're good experiences, then usually they'll share why. A driver might be like, oh yeah, it was great, and offer nothing. An expressive is going to be like, oh my gosh, they were great. They showed me all these houses and they really made sure that I understood everything. And I really appreciated, they were so nice and kind, and etc. And analytical would be like, yep, it was a great experience. The paperwork was good. The communication was good, etc. And so just keep all these cues in, because they're telling you what's going to be good for them to have their good experience, or what to avoid if they had a bad experience. A lot of people with for sale by owners had a bad experience, or they have so much experience selling that they've said, I'm going to try this on my own. So you'll have some scripts in there that will help you with this. So then the third thing is it comes to the close. The most important thing is, now that you've built rapport with them, you've had great conversations, you've checked out their motivation, and you've been able to ask a lot of questions, which is really important, then now we have to close them. And so we want to go through the closing and the things again, meaning that we want to go through the things again that they've already shared with us. We want to repeat the answers to the questions. So I asked you where you wanted to move next, and you said you were going to Raleigh, North Carolina. And then wait for them to respond. Maybe now we have the other person in the room. Maybe we called and spoke to Jane, and now Bob's. We're there with both of the people, no matter who they are. So we want to ask those same questions. I would take notes, right? I have my scripts right out there, and I would take notes, and I pull them right out like a doctor does. I make the notes, and if I'm pausing when they're answering the questions, when I'm doing that part, I'm like, I'm just taking some notes. People will appreciate the fact that you're actually taking notes. When you go to meet them and you pull your notes out, let me just pull my notes out and make sure we're on the same page, nothing has changed. So we want to repeat what they've said, which is also an affirmation. You could do the same thing when you're asking all your questions. Oh, so you want to move to Raleigh, North Carolina. What's important about that location? You're going to get some great information. I got a family member I need to take care of. My grandchildren are there. I have an important job there. So we're going to repeat that in the closing and the sales skills. So you told me that you have a job there and you needed to move by May 30th. Is that right? Make sure nothing has changed. They're getting relocated. So do you already have the relocation paperwork and the job offer in hand, or do we need to wait until that's there? That's part of the conversion and such. So we want to make sure that we convert that. Now at this point, we've made rapport, they like us, we've set the appointment, we've asked all the questions. Then we also need to then have that sales expertise and ask for them to work with us. I follow a great script that I learned from Mike Ferry at the very beginning. My third question is, so have you already decided that you want to work with me? Pause and let them answer the question. Any more? 90% of the people say yes. The other people by the end of the presentation, usually they are a yes, but sometimes they have to think about it overnight, and that's okay. So that being said, we need to make sure that we learn how to ask for the close, ask for them to sign a couple of times. And if they're pushing back, then we don't want to push, right? We want to respect who they are and their style and just ask. We want to be in good sales rapport with them. Is there anything that you want to make sure that I cover? Are you talking with more people than just myself? Are you interviewing more than one agent for the job? So when we meet, what's the most important thing when you're making your decision about who you want to work with? So when we know all of these answers, when we go there, I know that you said you want to make sure that you have communication as one of your number one things. Let me show you a sample of the weekly summary that we send to each of our sellers so that they know what's going on in the market, or you explain your process. We send real-time feedback so that you can satisfy that concern that they have. So when you work on these three things, it really allows for conversion to skyrocket. It goes without saying that we have to know the market. There are so many other things that we could talk about for hours and hours, but those three things are critical, because also if they don't like you, you're not getting in the door. If people like you, they might have some leniency in you saying, you know what, I'm not really quite sure of that answer, or I might have missed that comp. Let me pull up my computer and look at it right now. There's going to be some level of forgiveness. So you don't have to be perfect, but know your market and have the scripts there so that you know the consultation, you know the questions that you're going to ask is going to allow you to have that closing process even better. So I hope this has helped you kind of walk through the process, give you some ideas. Maybe you've even been able to write some of these things down so that it can help you in your preparation. This is topics that we can go into deep. This is a lot of things to study, but these are the genuine things that make a difference in being able to close higher and better over time. So if this has been helpful for you, please do me a favor and give me the thumbs up if you haven't already. If you would like to get a copy of some of the favorite scripts that I have, then look in the description below. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments below and we'll do our best to help answer. And look in the bio above and you will see the links so that we can send those to you so that you can help practice those and increase your conversion.